So I did a little bit of dressing of the engine to kind of speed things up. I threw on the reeds and the intake boots. I threw on the oil pump down there. I threw on the stator, the flywheel, pickup coil, and CPS, water pump housing, and the exhaust valves. And I was going to throw these on, and then I thought, wait a fucking minute. We don't got that big of a fucking hole to fit through here. I don't even know if we're gonna fit now. We may have to disassemble some shit, either that little link that I put in and the one on the other side and go, or we may have to take some shit off of there. But before we go resorting to drastic measures, might as well see if you see what you can do with what you got, right? So let's see what we can do with what we've got. Let's see what happens. Fuck. I can foresee some sore fingers here. Is what I can, what I'm seeing. Okay, now before we tilt it back onto its engine mounts, there's maybe a couple things that we should deal with real quick. First of all, we can hook up the oil pump a lot easier right now. We can ram those wires back into that connector. Gotta look at the picture, see which way they went. We can hook up the oil line, the oil feed line. And what else can we hook up here? Let's take a peek. Okay, so like I was saying, there's these two wires. They go into this here connector. And I have a picture of red and black, which one went which side. And then here's the keeper that locks it into place. Okay, so we got to deal with that, and that'd probably be easier while it's like this. We got the oil feed line that we can hook up down on the oil pump. This guy here goes somewhere, airbox, maybe. This guy here goes to the fuel pump. Or is it this one? One of these goes to the fuel pump. It'll make sense once the fuel pump's here, but yeah, so we got a few things that we can hook up here. So let's do that. Let's kind of get these rear mounts with bolts in them, and then we'll shimmy in the front mounts. I mean, hopefully it's as easy as it was to say. that there is some fresh, warm chocolate chip cookies for me inside. So this is gonna have to fucking wait for a moment. Alrighty, so I've been fucking around doing a few little things here. Even if I were to record it, all you'd see is, just me leaning into the engine bay of a sled. There's no room for a camera. You can't see fuck all, so I'll show you what I've all done so far. The hose that is coming out of down there, right there, goes on to, that's the pulse for the pump. This big input on the fuel pump is obviously fuel in, or fuel out to the carbs. That line right there is coolant. That's where the coolant goes to. In one side of the carb and out the other. We got that other connector down there, down by, where is it? Right there. Just below the carbs. Yeah. It's the vent for the oil tank. And then we got that wire plugged back in. And so basically this area is about to get sealed off. Debating on whether or not I should put in that secondary clutch, but I'll do it after. But for now, let's pop in the carbs. That's tight. Enough. Fuck. %. You guys are gonna pass out any second now. Alrighty, so still just plugging along with little boring things. Got the clutch back in place. The bearing is in its spot, and it's got the holder on there. In the chain case there, we've did we do anything else on this side? No, we didn't. Chain case side, got cleaned out the bolt hole in the jack shaft with brake clean and air, and put a little bit of blue Loctite on the threads. Everybody's got their opinion, and depending on even which manual you read, you can find different things on this. Basically, if it's got a chain case on it, I go as tight as I can by hand, and then back a quarter turn. And then I'll usually, once I back it off that quarter turn, I'll try again to keep going by hand, just in case, you know. Never seemed to have an issue. You can check it by going to the secondary and rocking it back and forth, and if it sounds like you got a bunch of slop, try it again. Another thing is rotate your secondary clutch counterclockwise, that way, and that puts all the slack in the chain on the front side where the tensioner is, so that way you're not trying to, you know, move any parts with your fingers. See what I mean? Now the reason why it's doing the longest sustained wheelie that a 600 has ever done, it's been hanging there since last night. I was putting coolant in it, and I ran out of coolant. So the reason I do it like this is it's like a one-shot deal, at least 90% of the time. Everything is so much further below the reservoir at this point, and you got a wicked angle. I mean, there, I'm holding the camera straight, and so that's what the angle of the sled is at. That's your heat exchanger all the way down the tunnel. So as I was pouring in there, all you could hear is bubbles, 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 bubbles. So we'll top it off, and then what I'll do, you see this top line, if you don't know what that is, that's your overflow line. Comes to right here, goes seemingly aimlessly, but it's right there. There's a hole. So if you ever find coolant dripping down your panel, that's what it is. You're just overflowing a little bit of coolant. Either you had too much or you got too hot. But first go, I'll get as much of the crap air out of the system as I can. I'll fill this up. You can rock the machine back and forth. You can give some gentle tugs on the rope. I say gentle tugs because we're hanging from one 5-inch eye bolt or eye screw. It's 1/4 inch diameter, 5 inches long, screwed into a pre-drilled hole into a 2x6 truss. And yeah, so safety first. So you can give it, if you got a sketchy setup such as this, give it gentle rocks back and forth. If you even, you know, want to do that, you don't have to, but I do. I'll just stand in a way where if it falls, I'll be beside it, not under it. So, you know, use your brain. And like I said, can pull out spark plugs, give some gentle tugs on the rope. You know, that'll spin the water pump and move shit around, and air will blip, 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 blip up to the tops. Just a little tip, if you can fucking raise your front end to the ceiling and have your ass end sitting on the floor, fill your coolant that way. If there's not enough, it'll absorb what's in here because this is full to the fucking nuts. And if there's too much, it'll get pushed out the overflow, and it'll dribble onto the floor or the ground or wherever the fuck the sled is. And that's it. And yeah. Other than the sketch factor of fucking being, you know, hanging from a little bolt, but that was a lot sketchier to me back when I first put it up there. But I've had like, I lifted a quad right by the center of the frame. Actually, it was old Harton, so a 2003 Foreman 450, right by the center of the frame, and I spun it around hanging from that bolt in the fucking ceiling. But mind you, that is fucking dangerous. Probably don't do that. Yeah. And yeah, I'll flip this camera back on when either I'm doing something exciting. All that's left is throw on the exhaust, throw on a couple panels. I gave him a stitch here because he had a big gaping fucking gash, so I gave him a couple stitches. So I said I'd flip this on if there was anything interesting going on. Well, first of all, the screen that was covering the actual intake filter had deteriorated to the point where the back side of it was getting flaky. You touch it and it would fall apart, and that was gonna go straight into the engine, so we got rid of that. I went through my $6 bag of painter's rags, and I found the only piece of black fabric in there that happened to have been somebody's t-shirt, and we cobble fucked something on there, so is what, you know, junk's not gonna get in. Temporary, need a new one. Next, notice that here's the rubber. And here's this dude. Still got the rubber on it. They're supposed to be attached by a slidey movable boot. Ooh, Bluetooth. So we can't do that. And I'm like, we need a boot. Well, I got a boot. You like Paw Patrol, Dougie? So, need a new one of those. But for now, I lopped one of these boots in half. And it used to be Paw Patrol. Well, it's still Paw Patrol. Anybody in the market for a size 11 sparkly, size 11 kids, toddler, whatever, sparkly purple fucking you know, rubber, fucking muckluck liner, whatever you want to call it. But look at this, man. Like, are you kidding me? It's fucking perfect. And so what I figured is that I'll leave this rubber dude on there. And actually, because of the taper of the rubber boot, this is actually a nice tight fit as well. So we'll put this rubber just inside of there. We'll put a clamp on there, and a clamp on there. Or we'll leave this clamp off until it's on the machine, and then we'll clamp it so that we know that it's where we want it to be. So yeah, I'll show you how it looks when it's done. Alrighty, so got the seat on, upper module on, most important part. We got a little bit of branding on. The upper hood was never here. two side panels are over here. Oh shit, I forgot to put the pistons in. Got the clutch on, belt on, gauge is plugged in. Yeah. So I haven't even pulled it yet. I grabbed the spark plugs here. I put them somewhere. I grabbed them. Sure hope I didn't put them down in the belly. But I grabbed the spark plugs. And there they are. And the plug wrench. I know these aren't brand new plugs, but they'll work for now. Can get some new plugs. It's not like they went through a catastrophic failure or anything like that. So they're not chewed up. They haven't been through hell, and they don't look that old to begin with. So let's just toss them back in for now. Break-in plugs are usually sacrificial anyway, so. So, what do you figure? Explosions, fires, funny smells, weird sounds, fucks off through the door. Place your bets. Okay, DPM plug is on. It's probably going to smoke like hell because there's only a little over half a tank in this machine, and I put enough oil in it for a full tank to be a good 40-1. So it's going to be a really thick mixture. I gotta grab a jerry can and dump it in there and shake the hell out of it, and then we'll have a good 40-1. But for now, it's probably around 20-1. So she's gonna be smoky. Kill switch up, full choke. Doesn't sound like the throttle's hanging up at all. Just in case it is, we got the brake on. Let's see what happens. we definitely need to get some more gas. In that tank. But anyway, I'll get some more fuel tomorrow. We'll top off this tank, we'll shake it about. The other thing with all that oil too is, as you've seen, you know, a lot of people would even say that I over oil when I'm assembling engines. So I use lots of oil. So what? Smokes a little bit. Don't hurt nothing. So like I said, tomorrow get some gas. I'll probably put the first few kilometers on it. You know, I'll take it for a little rip around the island or something. But yeah, what was that, third pull? Sounded like one of the fuel bowls there took a little minute longer than the other side to get fuel flowing through it though. But once she got fuel, she was, you know, all good. So she fired right up. That's nice. She didn't fuck off. She didn't catch on fire. She didn't smell funny. She didn't make any weird noises. Decent.